I hate you. That's all. That's all that the world needs to know. 17th time is the charm as we do the
I
intro.
told you to hold on a second. I
You
was
did, but you know what?
doing
That's never held any
something.
ground for the past 5 years. We've been doing this podcast. So, anyways, how's life of Blue Man Paul a little bit?
I know. God, I'd love to figure this thing out. One thing I did discover, because this came, of course, I used the camera on Windows Weekly for the first time the other day, is that there's like a camera hub app, so I can live screw with this, right? So you can see how terrible that is. But I mean, honestly, well, I guess there's a little bit of stuff here. Like I can turn
Some
up
like flickering or something that it's. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's because I'm screwing with it. So, there's things I can do, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like if what's this must.
Oh, that would just in the black levels, maybe.
Yeah, it's well, there's no black level. I could turn it. This is the contrast. It really is. It's a very subtle.
I don't know. It's pretty significant. Like your shirt is coming.
Yeah. So, to me, I don't know what to call it. It's off in a way that I don't like. Noise reduction. Ooh.
It's like an Instagram.
That's noise reduction off. I don't know. Like I don't like screwing with the temperature, because if I turn off white balance, it goes like this, and then, well, actually, in some ways, if I could now tune down the saturation, we're getting somewhere.
Well, that's less bluey.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. And then what does that do? That just not too much. The contrast thing doesn't seem to do much. So put you next to me so I can just kind of
see. People always want to know. It's like, what do you guys do before you start recording? And like, you know what? Today we're just rolling with it.
We just kind of BS is what we do usually, and then we solve technical problems on the air for some reason.
We've ended world hunger, I think, 3 times now.
So let's go with this.
Okay. Feeling good about those choices.
Okay. And good morning.
This is where I'd usually play the intro, but
for the 5th time. Anyway,
just for good measure.
Here we go. Good show.
We've got a couple minor things here, right? Well, first off, I think we should mention that Stephen Chapman has started contributing to the.
Yeah, how have we not talked about that yet?
Thurrott.net.
Yeah, the first thing I told Brad up front was, I've known Stephen forever. I mean, I've known him for probably 12 years-ish, something like that. And he's a great guy. He's kind of moved in and out of the blogging world, right, over time. And he has a real job, which, must be interesting. But, he is really heavily involved. In fact, one of the things we should talk about at some point, him and I, and maybe write about, is he collects artifacts from the past of Windows in Microsoft in general, but mostly in Windows. And he has a lot of neat things from the old days. And he'll be, he's published a thing that was, geez Louise, my phone is going to town. Just going to turn that thing off. He published something the other day about the 20th anniversary of Windows, which at the time Windows XP was the current version, and Microsoft Japan, which operates as an almost completely independent entity, did its own things, as it often has and still does. I think that was fascinating to a lot of readers. But I was, I told him this. I mean, it's just kind of the way I am, I guess. But he, for the first couple of posts, he's kind of asked me just to kind of read over what he's doing, make sure it's, in the right ballpark or whatever. And the truth is, like, he's a really good writer. And it's neat for me because anyone who knows me for a long time, and follows me on Twitter knows I make fun of writing on Twitter every day. I make fun of bad headlines. I mean, this is what I do. I see bad writing, and for some reason my cat has decided to come up on my desk. Speaking of bad podcasting, this is like a madhouse here today. What would possess this animal to think I wanted anything to do with her? I don't know. Anyway, I was reading the beginning, the opening sentence of his post was so good. I read it aloud to my wife, who asked me if I wrote it, and I said, no, I wish I had it. It's really good. And it's nice. It's refreshing. Like I told him, I said, this is, you're a really good writer. And anyway, Stephen's good people. And I think, like, as I said in my introductory post, and I'll say it again, I think people are going to really enjoy the content that he'll be creating. He has a rich archive. Oh, and the one thing I wanted to have the conversation with it was, at some point a long time ago, I had a lot of stuff from the past. I had old MSDN disks, beta disks of every kind, Microsoft USB keys that date back so far. The first ones were probably like in the megabytes, and instead of gigabytes. And I gave all that stuff to him at some point a long time ago, when during some round of decluttering that I seem to do again and again and again. And so it's fun for me that I contributed in a small way, probably, to his collection, but he has a lot of stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just blank my screen for a moment so I can toss this cat like she's a football into the next room because I want to kill it.
Go back to Paul for the live Tom Brady here.
Okay. Yep. There's not an event where the cat.
We'll just start it again
every day. I know. She heard my voice talking and she thought, surely he must be talking to me. And even though I never do this, I'm going to come in and I'll get petted now at 9:30, whatever time it is. Good morning, Brad. Anything going on in the world of tech?
Did you see the Apple announcement yesterday?
I did. Well, I saw it this morning. I saw it in the worst possible way, which is in the form of a New York Times article, which really didn't drive home how big this is. Mm-hmm. And I was reading it and I was like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, they settled.
So then I had to go, yeah. Go on.
I was going to say they settled. So when I first saw the headline, I was like, oh God, they settled with Epic. Like that lawsuit is done.
Right.
That's not.
Well, there's a tie-in to that.
There is a tie-in, but it's not. That wasn't what was settled.
Right.
There was a conglomerate, I believe, of like small independent publisher or developers, we'll call them. I don't know if they had sued Apple or they were in the process
class action lawsuit. Yeah. Class action lawsuit.
So I wasn't sure if it had made it to the class action state.
Yeah.
But they sued Apple over some of the practices, namely being able to buy stuff outside of the App Store, meaning like if a developer put up a prompt and says you got to give Apple 30%, or you can go to our website and do it, and Apple is relenting and is now going to allow that functionality.
So and I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I might get these numbers a little bit off, but they're close. So every developer involved in this suit will get between, I think it's $250 and $32,000, because for some time period they were unable to communicate with their own customers through an app in the store about anything related to, we have these other services, you could pay for something over here. I look, this is one of, people have often asked me, I'll complain about Apple and their abusive business practices, and they're like, but Paul, what should they do? And I've listed out that there's a list of 5 to 7 things, whatever it is. These are the things that need to change. This is one of those things. It's only one of them. But it's an important thing. This impacts smaller developers mostly, meaning 98 or 99% of developers, right? It doesn't impact Netflix or Amazon or Facebook or whatever, although they too can now communicate to their customers in ways that weren't possible before. Amazon's not going to get a check for $32,000, right? This is for the developers who make under $1 million a year. The settlement, that is, which is, most developers. And I'll use Amazon as the example. So Amazon has a Kindle app, right? Obviously, and they have an Audible app. And in both cases, those things are backed by online services and stores that sell content. They do not. Amazon has decided not to give Apple 15 or 30% or whatever the figure is, depending on whatever we're talking about, for every single sale they make through their online stores, through their app on Apple's platforms. So the experience of using the Kindle app or the Audible app on iPhone or iPad, I guess, is quite different from using it on Android. I was trying to explain this to my wife because, again, she's fascinated by my job and by technology, and she loves when I talk about this stuff. So, if you're reading the Kindle, like I just did over the Mexico trip, I read the Space Odyssey books again, the Arthur C. Clarke stuff. And as I finished one, I would go and buy the next one, and they're cheap. They're like $7.99, whatever. But to do that on my iPad, I had to go to the web, go to the Amazon store, search, find it, buy it, go back to the Kindle store, refresh the library page, then download it from there. I can't do it from within the app because Amazon makes too much money from this to give 30 or 15 or whatever the number is to Apple. And they have no way. Apple will not let them communicate it in the app. Oh, by the way, if you want to buy something from us, you have to do this. They don't let them do that. So this is what this settlement is changing. Again, it's just one of the many business abuses that Apple has engaged in over the past, how old is the App Store? 15 years almost, or 14 years, 13 years, whatever the number is, doesn't matter. Yeah. So this is, I actually think this is big news.
Yeah.
Apple talks about privacy is a fundamental right. You know what else is a fundamental right? Free speech.
Yeah. Just options.
And I just, good Lord. And there are other things coming down the pike. All of these class action lawsuits, regulatory actions, just in the United States, there are multiple investigations and charges against Apple right now. But around the world, there are many, many more. South Korea has this notion of forcing platform makers like Apple and Google to have alternate app payment system or in-app payment systems. It's not something the user would ever see. This happens behind the scenes, but it's something that if a developer, like especially big developers who would have their own app payment systems, can't use them, they have to go through Apple. And Apple gets, they get a slice of that every single time. That's one of the abusive business practices that a monopolist engages in to maintain their monopoly illegally and make more and more money. Phil Schiller wanted to stop charging developers 30% once the App Store generated $1 billion in revenues. He thought they should have it and then have it again and have it again. And that was how they were going to do things. And what does it make today? $60 billion a year?
Yeah.
And people are like, well, they're going to pay for the infrastructure. Yeah, it doesn't cost $60 billion a year. Okay. It just doesn't. This is a huge revenue center for a profit center for Apple is what it is. And it's for doing nothing. And I literally mean nothing. I know they do things, but the net service there is not much.
Yeah, the margins are probably like over 90%.
Through the roof. This is a company that makes 50% margins on hardware. What do you think they make on services?
Yeah.
It's unheard of. Anyway, I could obviously go on and on about this topic, but I'll let this one cool down. How's my heart rate going there? Oh, it's not bad.
Well, that was the big news of the past, whatever it is, Friday, thankfully.
Yes.
Tomorrow will be Saturday.
Yeah.
Provided.
That's true.
It will be interesting to see what other sort of, guillotines fall because of this ruling. Because this is...
I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Here's the tie-in with the Epic case. The Epic case has concluded. The judge is reviewing it and will issue some findings or whatever. A lot of onlookers seem to think that Epic is going to lose this case, which I'm a little surprised by, but that in the long run, Apple will lose because all of the things that Epic was fighting for are going to happen because of that regulatory action that I just mentioned. Here's the thing. This settlement, this court case, overseen by the judge who is overseeing the Epic case. And because she has not ruled on the Epic case yet, this will have to influence it. This is now a precedent. And this is one of the things that Epic was fighting for, right? Only one of the things. Epic very correctly is fighting for probably all of the things that I've listed in the past, the other business abuses that Apple engages in. So it is, I would say it's quite likely that this will impact the outcome of the Epic v. Apple lawsuit. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think we'll get a ruling on Monday, but
no. It could be late in the year. I have it in my head that it may be as late as December. These things take a long time for some reason.
Yeah,
you got to hire all the interns to write the actual opinion and then, edit it for grammar and whatnot.
Maybe it'll arrive at the same time Halo did. Or does.
And then develop in about the same amount of time.
Maybe the cat will be back on Monday.
If the cat lives through the weekend.